Good afternoon and welcome. I'm speaking to you this afternoon from the Cliffs of Moher in Western Ireland, and I'm so excited and delighted to be having this conversation with my friend and colleague, Dr. Stephen Chan, who is the owner of Crest in Hong Kong. And we are bringing to you a new course, cutting-edge course, and it is being held in Hong Kong on January 16th and 17th. Now, Dr. Chan, it's so fun to call you Dr. Chan. I've known you now for, I don't know, what do you think? At least 15 years, Stephen. How many years?
I think it's about 15, 16, yeah, at least 15.
Which is wild, isn't it? It's a long collegial association. And Stephen is the owner of a company called Crest, which is a clinical education company that delivers services both to children and parents and families, as well as he's an educator of clinicians and teachers. And I think of you, Stephen, as a pioneer, someone who is constantly creative and putting together new ideas that are cutting edge, contributing to the field of occupational therapy. And I feel so proud of you in all the things that you have accomplished in the 15 years that I've known you.
Thank you very much for your introductions.
And introductions are always tricky. And you know, your occupational therapy doctorate was a labor of love. And what year did you graduate or receive your PhD? I forget now.
Yeah, I received my OTD in Thomas Jefferson University.
Awesome. And sensory integration is a big part of your history. But you are the person that first really entered into this love of measuring physiology. And I think you're the one who introduced me to the idea of the use of technology in our clinical work. And we are together bringing a new course to Hong Kong on January 16th and 17th on the use of biometrics in clinical practice. And this course is meant to inspire clinicians to expand their clinical reasoning beyond what they see or think they see with their eyes. And so I'm wondering if you might have something that would inspire clinicians to appreciate that this technology is usable in everyday clinical use.
Yes, actually, my interest in the biometrics measures is from you. I remember many courses you did in Hong Kong and different parts of the world. You talk about physiological measure in research, in different population, in the trauma populations, among autism, around various different kinds of people with different issues. And my interest is it just happen in research paper? Is the same things also happen in the client in front of me? I want to measure to put those research into practice.
Hmm. And I know that you do this every day and you think this way every day. And I have experienced treating kids together with you while we have been using clinical measures. And I am often stunned at the difference between what I think I'm seeing through the tracking of nonverbals of the child in front of me and the physiological data that sits in front of me. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, that's also why I'm so interested in it. I keep using it every day because when I'm looking at those data, those numbers, those what I'm using most is the electrodermal activities, how it changes, how the ratio go ups and down. When I'm looking at the children in front of me, sometimes it's aligning well, sometimes it seems just the opposites of what I'm thinking about.
And isn't it, it's a really humbling feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I know that because so much of the recent emphasis in the work of physiological measures has centered around the vagus nerve, that heart rate variability has been such a dominant form of measurement, or one form of measurement, that has been insightful in understanding where the nervous system is sitting. But you have introduced me to electrodermal activity. And I'm wondering if you can speak to that for a moment, why that has been such a significant choice for you.
Yes. And heart rate variability is one of the gold standards, and I also tried to use it, and I even learned the cardio active from Stephen Porges lab projects about how to convert it into a cardiac wiggle tone, how to
Yep.
convert heart rate variability into cardiac wiggle tone, and I have some moments of using both heart rate variability and also the electrodermal activities, but why now I'm more leaning on using lots of electrodermal activities measures because it is really fast and real time. I do not need afterwards calculations. I can see it right at this moment about the arousal.
And so you can see the spikes of the stress response in real time as you're in the moment of the treatment. And it gives you that insight or a theoretical possibility in your clinical reasoning of what you might try to do next.
Yeah. And it also inform me when I'm trying to do something. For example, I think she made it up regulations and I tried some strategies. It may not it whether it is not working or just not working yet, or am I on the right track, or am I doing something opposite? Yeah, if I want the child to more calming down, and is my strategies working? And when I do some massage, playing with some tactile stuff, or when I'm swinging, am I on the track? It is a useful tools to help me to appreciate it. Yeah, the performance and arousal linkage.
I'm thinking that it would also be really stunning for a parent to have the witness of the change in their child's nervous system in such a concrete way. That would be perhaps a, a deeply astonishing insight into their ability to put their mind in the mind of their child.
Mhm.
Mhm. And that I remember when you showed me one of your videos of a kiddo who was just making eye contact. And when he would gaze in the direction of a child, another child, or of his caregiver, you would see the electrodermal activity increase in combination with the eye contact, which you were measuring through Toby at that time when I witnessed this video. And that when the gaze moved away, the child's nervous system would reflect in the data a reset. And as a parent to see that, that's a game changer in what they might expect, or how the compassion that they might have for their child.
Yes, I think it helps parents to understand the thoughts more about why the child do what they do.
Mm.
Yeah, it's arousal is one of the lens to help them to appreciate. Yeah, I have some work with students, special school. We tried to have this electrodermal activities. We borrow the things for parents to use at home, and then the parents come back to tell us, "Oh, he need to get more aroused. I need to play those activities with them. I would need to bring them out for outings so that the arousal will be more just right."
And I have a story I want to share with you of a situation where I was using the heel bee that you have taught me to use with a dad. And this particular father has three boys on the spectrum. And I asked him what would you like to be easier for you? And he said, oh, that's easy. I have a clear wish for my son, who is the most non-speaking of the three of the boys, to hug me just once. And I thought, wow, that is a very deep and emotional desire. And he then described to me, the father, some of his own personal trauma history. And when I put on the Healbee and the data came up live, it was a flat line, Stephen. I'd never seen data like that. In my mind, it was the truest reflection of what I might have considered dissociation. But living from that place, as in going through life in that numb, somewhat disconnected self-protection. And, when you live in yourself, you don't even know what your state necessarily might be. And then I introduced to this dad the Safe and Sound Protocol music, which is vagal nerve stimulating music. For those of you who don't know that name of this kind of treatment. And within 2 to 3 minutes, he started to sweat. He started to get shaky. His eyes started to dart all over the place. And the dad said, I feel like I want to cry. And I watched the data. I watched the graph go up. And his son, who had never come to hug him, was across the playground. And he darted in our direction and came right to his dad. As this activation became increasing, and gave his dad a hug. There were so many tears, me included. And the dad said out loud, I think my son was able to find me for the first time. And this is where biometrics had such a profound impact on me and this family, because of the, first of all, cognitive awareness that you can have of your own state, but also the differences that we can make in such small ways, and how we can rewire the nervous system through repetition. And so that powerful story to me was the wonder of sympathetic activation, of coming beyond frozen lack of availability. And so this is something that, because I have this love for the work like you, I'm excited for us to bring to the clinical world. And I'm just curious if you have any words of wisdom to help clinicians overcome their fear of the use of the technology.
I have an interesting story about how I see this technology being used in classroom. I'm working closely with one of the special school in Hong Kong, and they just 2 years ago they done a project using these physiological measures for students with aggressive behaviors, with different behavioral issues. And this year they move forward, not just about having behavioral issues. They want to use the physiological measures to help them to learn better. And I come across with a group of students. They are Form 6, who is having a mild grade intellectual challenges, and they put on the Gobi by themselves, and they start pairing up, and they look at the numbers. And what makes me feeling most interesting and funny is that I'm watching at their conversation. One of the students talked to his classmate. Oh, look, why today your number is so low? Maybe you need to do something to get yourself more aroused. Yeah. they are
Wow.
handling it very well.
And you know what? To me, Stephen, that's a different level of interoception because, for example, when I look at it's a neurofeedback, right? It's a sense of giving feedback in real time based on watching your own numbers or your own line change on a graph in connection to how you're feeling in the moment, which is different than looking at a chart, for example. Are you in the green zone or the red zone or the yellow zone? That there is more real life momentum that you can connect into, which can enhance your awareness of your interoceptive connection to yourself. And to me, this is what regulation is.
Yeah, and what's most amazing for this class, this is a class of children with also with autism. And the lesson plan is to change them up to have more empathy, to understanding others more. And they're using this physiological measure to put it in a more concrete way to understand others.
Wow. Which is, you're also bringing to my remembrance another concern. In my recent Regulation Matters course, I introduced the concept of biometrics, and people were tentative. Some people were tentative because they were concerned that this might replace attunement. And, one clinician said it's taken us so long to move beyond behavioral interventions into attuned, connected, relational interventions with children. And the fear was that biometrics would take us back into this concreteness. And my response is this is exactly as you've just described, another level of fine tuning our capacity for attunement and increasing our skill set in that attunement skill, because sometimes what we see isn't always what is happening on the inside.
And what I'm thinking is if we want to have more compassion and attunement, one of the key elements is curiosity. And when we are using those biometric measures, and actually it helps us to develop more and more curiosity about why is this like that and what's happening in the environment and what's happening before after and what's happening in their mind and happening in their nervous system. I think that's the curiosity.
And speaking of curiosity, I watched one of your videos that I'm eager for people to have this experience with us at the course is clinical analysis. And I remember seeing one of your little guys and the simultaneous data alongside the video clip. And every time he would walk to the table, sit down at the table, eat his food, you'd see this EDA sympathetic spike. And then he'd get up and he'd walk away from the table and you'd see the spike come down into a more I would call it regulated state. And this is such an interesting thing because so often we want people to sit at the table. And when I watched this little clip, I thought to myself, this is how this guy, in my curiosity, is managing this food.
Mm.
Is that while he is eating it, it's very stressful. And that this pacing of getting up and moving on and moving his body is allowing him to do exactly what we are asking him to do, which is eat. And then when we go and ask kids to do things like sit down, we are actually putting them in an irreconcilable position. If we hadn't had that data, we would have never have known. And so this is the wisdom that I'm hoping that we are going to unpack in our time together in Hong Kong.
Yes, I'm so much looking forward. Yeah, of course.
And I think that even though this is our first time presenting this workshop, and it is live, in person only, it can be our test pilot for a future of what we can create together as time unfolds. Stephen, I want to say to you in closing how I can feel interoceptively my own electrodermal activity going up with the excitement of our impending co-creation. And the fact that, we are having this dialogue, me in Ireland, you in Hong Kong, and how every course that we host, people are asking me questions about this topic of the use of biometrics and the understanding of physiology as it supports us in our work. I am just beyond excited to have the opportunity to collaborate in our course in January in 2026.
Yeah, welcome to Hong Kong.
Thank you, and see you soon.